What's up, summoners, and welcome back to the RiftGuides WildRift video. Today's video is going to be a tier list video, and this tier list video is going to be sponsored by curry.gg. So before we talk about the tier list, let's talk about our sponsor of today's video. Are you tired of queuing up alone and suffering from team gap in every single game? Then you have to take a look at curry.gg. On that platform, you're able to search for different teams, organizations, as well as skilled individuals. You can even create your own resume with extensive information and your personal success stories, which will set you apart from any other player on the platform. No more random solo queue teammates that make you mold on a daily basis, and I can promise you that one. More so, you can use precise filters to look for players of specific champions and their champion pool to perfectly fit what your team and your premates desire. Just imagine, you can have a resident tank player on demand within seconds of looking for them. At the same time, all of that is made even easier thanks to being linked up with Discord. Easy and real-time pings for recruitment opportunities and interview requests. Teaming up has never been this easy. And there's even more. Thanks to the multilingual user interface, curry.gg breaks apart any language barrier and connects players and teams of different nationalities. And now you might ask, what is the goal of curry.gg? Making sure like-minded players can group up and enjoy gaming together. Esports seems so far out of reach for beginners or players who like social connections, and Curry just wants to introduce them to the world of esports. While doing that, small organizations also find a bigger pool of players to draw from to fill their rosters with newer players and foster new talent. And there's also a feature where you can go into your profile and instantly download your resume to share with other people, just to make sure that everyone knows what's up and who you are when it comes to playing video games. Now check out the link in the description below, and don't forget to make your own resume. Oh, and before I forget it, if you join Curry via the links in the description below and create your resume, then you automatically join a giveaway to be coached by me. Now let's get back to the tier list. Okay, WildRift patches barely change anything most of the time. There's only a few things that change, with a few champions getting a lot stronger and other champions getting weaker. For the Baron lane, Warwick is still the best champion in pure isolation. He wins every single matchup and forces the enemy to pick a scaling champion and simply do not play. If they ever choose to play, they'll get completely obliterated. Another godlike pick in the Baron lane is currently Varus. This champion is unbreakable. One of the few champions that can also kill Warwick, by the way, but he's very vulnerable to getting killed. But with the right build and proper understanding how the game works, this champion is unbelievably unbalanced up there. Next to these picks, we have Fiora and Rumble. Fiora is incredibly overtuned, and if you go for Gluttonous Grease into Eclipse, which is a full AD build, you completely one-shot everyone, but at the same time, you're very squishy as well. As for Rumble, you have to be really confident on this champion and understand how to manage the heat, and then life becomes a lot easier, especially in the Baron lane. Since you have access to First Strike, you're printing money on cooldown. For the tank department, we simply have Ornn as the best pick available. Other champions, for example like Malphite, is a true counter pick only. And Singed can be theoretically placed into the S tier, but this champion cannot play lane. Compared to mid lane, he really is dependent on the enemy top laner to be pretty bad to find proper impact. But if you find yourself playing top lane or getting autofill, just pick on. This champion is unbelievably busted, do yourself a favor and just enjoy your ride. Otherwise, if you're a top lane enjoyer, you can also pick up Narcissus. Narcissus is a very good pick into most of the bruisers in the game. He deals with them pretty easily once he is level 5, and then he just runs them down. However, you have to stay safe in the early levels, because otherwise the game could go into a direction you really do not desire to be in. For the jungle, we have a few adjustments. Even though Ambassador got nerfed, she's still one of the most annoying champions to face, simply thanks to that ultimate and snowball potential. Other champions that are incredibly broken right now are Lilia, Shyvana, Vi, Lee Sin, Warwick not so much anymore, Wukong in the jungle. Like, these champions are definitely the picks you need to have on your radar, and once you get to like learn them properly, winning is just so goddamn easy. Other champions in the S tier are more counter pick heavy. Also, Diana and Echo are free item. Like, Diana, Echo and Evelynn are free item champions. Before that, they are a lot weaker than before, so you have to keep that one in mind. Warwick doesn't carry from the jungle position anymore as he did before, but he's still super annoying to deal with. As per usual, to keep it simple, we only have like 3 tiers, so pick anything from the S tier and you're more than fine. Picks from the A tier require more mastery, more conditions, or are simply weaker, and picks in the B tier, well, just stay away from them. For the tank tier, Amumu is still the best up there because he's so easy to play and so influential, so impactful and so powerful that it's kind of weird that Riot didn't nerf him again. Or well, they should nerf him like soon again, like at least a tiny bit. For the champions in the S tier, we have the typical culprits of Shen being still very good in the meta, just If you have a pre-made team, you can make sure that they're never alone, unable to get engaged on, always having backup. Champions like Jarvan can be played carry and tank as well. Nautilus goes the same, both can be carries and tanks. In this graphic they're just in tank because, well, we are running out of space. And yeah, Volibear is always a good pickup. Champions in the A tier, I would rather tell you that you should stay away from them, they're not that influential for the jungle department. For the mid lane we have the mages. Syndra is still one of the best champions in that department. Now, we also have a few other changes that are very powerful when it comes to the meta in mid lane. First off, Morgana is a very good counter pick. Please do not blind pick this champion, it's a counter pick. Other champions that are super powerful are, like, for example, Aurelion Sol and Orianna. These champions are super nice and very powerful in the sense of carrying games from behind and as well as stalling games, making it very difficult for the enemy to play. Also, Zoe feels a lot better nowadays, and I don't really know if it's because of Lich Bane or anything else. Champions in the A tier are usually champions you want to stay away from or have more other champions on your team that fulfill the proper conditions. For example, Lissandra. For Lissandra to be played in mid lane, you want to have a duo jungle, because then you can set up perfect ganks every single time on an ult cooldown, which makes it so easy to snowball. As for the assassins, we have Echo in the highest tier simply because it's so easy for him to get lane leads. He shoves the wave, and once the lane is shoved, life is perfect, he can go anywhere he pleases. He also cannot really die, which is a big W for that champion. As I'm not making distinctions between S+, S and S tier, the S tier looks a little bit weird given that all these champions in there are super different in their strength. For example, with the meta being as it is, Zed is very good into most of the mage champions you face. Kassadin is equally as good. Pyke also performs very well. Akali is a little bit more lackluster, but still a very good pickup if you default over to the Lich Bane item build, which makes it easier for you to deal more damage if you are aware of the champion and how to play this champion. Champions such as Diana feel a little bit weaker, the same as Ahri, due to the loss of sudden impact, but can still play the game on a very good level. Somewhat of a sleeper pick in this current game, right now in the meta we have, feels to be like Katarina. I do not know if I just feel like she's strong, but I think she might even be able to also be put into the S tier, whereas other champions like Fizz and Talon really feel out of place right now. For the other tier, we have Varus as the pinnacle of champions. This champion is still unbelievably unbalanced, as you can imagine. Other champions within the S tier barely really changed. Sivir is super powerful, we have Corki being super powerful, as well as Singed in mid lane. Because against mages, Singed is really powerful because they can't really kill him, and he gains access to going for proactive plays on other lanes or punishing these mid laners if they don't have any reliable crowd control to keep him away. That way he can facilitate plays with his jungle, or just generally map plays because mages can't really follow him into fog or war, similar to other assassins. Contrary to public belief in the AD carry tier, I must say Lucian is still by far the best AD carry you can have. This champion in a duo environment does so much damage, it's absolutely obscene. In a solo queue environment though, you'll be in a lot of pain. Again, since I don't differentiate between S+, S and S-, the S tier looks a little bit weird, but let me walk you through it. First off, Varus is the pinnacle of damage there. The next thing we have to talk about is Zeri being able to scale up into the later stages of the game, especially with the loss of value in Brutal, which makes laning for her a lot easier. Another big W for the current patch is actually Ezreal. He has access to Gathering Storm now, as well as other options like Conqueror because laning isn't as important anymore, or you don't get kills most of the time anyway, and access to Zombie Ward. You have 3 sources of extra AD which gives you so much power in fights. The same can also be applied to Sivir. She also has access to Gathering Storm now, because Brutal isn't necessary for her to snowball through the lane. Lucian still has to run Brutal though, by the way. Out of all the options in the lane, Kai'Sa would be the weakest laning-wise, even weaker than Zeri in my opinion. Kai'Sa is only really a real champion after she gets her evolves and scales. She doesn't really have a laning phase. For example, Miss Fortune on the other hand has a super powerful laning phase and wins most of them by the enemy just catching one of these double ups. And yeah, if you're wondering about the A tier and B tier, let me walk you through it too. Caitlyn and Jinx are not real champions that are good in the meta. They need to go for on-it builds to deal with tanks, and even then they take ages to kill them. And if they don't have a Lulu or a Milio, they just don't do anything. The same applies to basically all other champions. You can make an exception, for example, for Jhin. He feels decent, I think. He can also be, like, technically speaking, in the lower S tier, and other champions in the B tier, like Vayne, like, come on. Nothing really changed for Vayne. She's still a terrible laner, she needs a Lulu to be functional, and she needs isolated 1v1 duels, which this game isn't necessarily about. She really lacks that one, and even if she finds these situations, she still takes a lot of time to actually get people killed. So this champion is a lot worse than people believe she is. At best you can put her into A, but definitely I would never ever in my life want to pick Vayne unless I'm duel with a Lulu or a Milio or like anything like this. And yeah, Kalista basically died in this game. Riot killed her. For the mages in bot lane, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Ziggs, still the best one. Just take first strike, don't take combat, and your life will be wonderful. All the other champions in the lower tiers here, just pick them up as you please. They're all viable in the S tier, so don't worry about this one. But as you go lower into the A tier, things become a lot more difficult to be executed. You can make an exception for Morgana, which I always say with, for example, Leona, but you have to keep that one in mind. Oh yeah, and all these rankings obviously change if you involve a Senna, so you have to keep that one in mind as well. This is without a Senna, so don't forget that one. Last but not least, we have the support role. Engage-wise, we still have the most broken champion, Nautilus, and all the other champions within the S tier are either less reliable than Nautilus or a little bit weaker. The champion powers, like the champion power level from like the highest tier to the lowest tier is about reliability, damage, and overall presence on the map. For example, Blitzcrank Blind is absolutely useless. Blitzcrank into an Enchanter comp is super OP. For the Protect tier, we still have our lovely champion Milio as the highest tier. This champion is too annoying and too powerful to face. Other champions like Nami are a powerful source of anything you want. Braum is mega broken. Yuumi is insane, you just can't break Yuumi lanes. Lulu is an obnoxious goblin. Seraphine is a shielding damage and utility bot. And the champions within the A tier just feel a lot worse. For example, Morgana doesn't provide you with anything outside of the Black Shield and an occasional CC spell, which is very unreliable. Janna doesn't really have a lane, doesn't really do anything outside of hopefully shielding the right person and hopefully disengaging in the right moment. Sona, however, feels a little bit better than Janna, but from my opinion, I don't feel she's better than Seraphine. You can definitely correct me on that one if you believe it to be different, but I just hate playing with Sona as a champion. I believe this champion just doesn't do enough. Same for Janna, they just don't do enough. And I would rather describe them as spectators. And yeah, the B tier, well, just don't do it. For the carry tier, Karma is still the pinnacle of champions that you can go for. Champions within the S tier have been staying the same for the last 19 years, and champions within the A tier are also in the same realm for eons. For the A tier, however, you can basically say that I'm treating Zyra unjustly. She can definitely move up into the S- tier, but maybe if they fix most of her bugs, this champion will finally be very good. I think she might be sleeper, but I rarely see her, so it's difficult to make a proper assessment. So yeah, A+, S- I think is the best one I can give her. Swain doesn't really do anything outside of Senna, and Brand as well outside of Senna, just don't play them. That's kind of it. And don't forget, check out our sponsor for this video in the description below, curry.gg. You'll find your dream teammates there, get your CV there. Make sure to use the referral link in the description below, and we'll see each other for more content very soon. Thank you all for watching, and take care.